or the Education Task Force is made up of 7 subcommittees. And today you're going to hear from 2 of those subcommittees, the School and Community Partnership Subcommittee, as well as the Professional Development Subcommittee. And that subcommittee, the Professional Development Subcommittee, is chaired or directed by Ms. Tasheka Winter. And she's going to be on telling you a little bit more about this, this Jaminar. So the Education Task Force has been doing wonderful work within the diaspora, putting on Jaminars. One of our very frequent one and very popular is the Google training one, the Google Suite, as well as Zoom, and informing teachers and students what to expect as they move directly into the virtual landscape. It's very important that we pay attention to these. So this training, as it is, will help us to bridge that gap between school and the community. So stay tuned for this one. I can't wait to see what these experts have in store for us this afternoon. I'm very excited, and I'm just right at the edge of my chair waiting to see what they'll discuss. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to our director of the Professional Development School Subcommittee to give us some more overview and introductions. Thank you very much. Ms. Tasheka Winter.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our part 2 of our School and Community Partnership, Jaminar Building and Sustaining Partnership. And so this evening, you guys are in for a treat. We have educators from all over the world, representing Jamaica and America, and they'll be talking to you about various partnerships that you could build. So the last Jaminar we talked about how you could build and sustain partnership. Everyone that was on the Jaminar really share feedback about wanting to hear more about the various aspects of partnership. And so we decided to form a panel today, and you'll hear from experts in the field of partnership with parents, partnership with alumni association, and then partnership as a leader of a school. I'm definitely very excited to hear what they have to share. I hope you guys will have tips and nuggets that you could take back to your respective committees and schools as you're building your partnership. And so at this moment, I would like to introduce our moderator for the afternoon, Dr. Barbara Dawkins, and she is the president of the Jamaica American Association of Central Florida. Dr. Dawkins will give you a little bit of background on herself, and then she will introduce our panelists for this evening. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening and learn a lot from what these experts have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winter. Thank you, Dr. Dr. Dice. Thank you, everyone. I am a seasoned educator. I started in Kingston, Jamaica, and I would like to talk a little bit more about this kind of webinar. It is such a great honor to be part of this, and when I look at the research on working with school and community in building partnership, the Harvard Family Project said, when this takes place, everyone benefits. And I also took a look at the Jamaica's mission statement for education, and I saw where it is focused on providing quality care and education in an innovative, inclusive, and enabling environment, thereby creating socially conscious and productive Jamaicans. It's a whole community, and I am so excited to be part of this. So I think we just need to get into the team that we have, some experts, and I'll move on to introducing the members of the panel. We have first, for School and Alumni Association, we have Mr. Don Jones. workforce development, and founder of Agile Education. For school and community business partnership, we have Mr. Ethan McNamee, and he's principal of the Broadleaf Primary and Infant School. And our final panelist is an expert in school and parent partnership, and she is Miss Nicola Myers Gardere. And if I'm saying your name incorrectly, I apologize. MEDCI/LA, and she's a doctoral candidate pursuing administration and leadership. She's also the assistant principal of a school in Texas in the United States. Our format this evening involves questions to the members of the panel, followed by questions from other participants. So we'll just move right into that. If Dr. Dice or Ms. Winter doesn't have anything to say right now, we'll just move into that. Our first question is open to all members of the panel. How can we build sustainable and equitable partnerships to strengthen the school community? We'll start first with Mr. Jones.
Well, thank you, and I'm happy to be here and to contribute what little I know about especially alumni associations with the and relationships with schools with the audience. My position as a so-called expert in this area is based on my experience in founding and operating an alumni association for Jamaica College. And this association was founded decades ago and based in New York City, and has been together all this time, and has managed to deliver, I believe, great benefits to the school and more so to the country. And for me, an effective alumni movement is just based on the 3 C's. It's the commitment to the school and to your country. It's establishing really good communication lines. And third, and thereby building trust between both parties. And importantly, just building your own community. Once the alumni organization is able to build a personal community around their membership and sustain that over time, they will be successful once they have correct mission goals. And so this is what I have experienced as in my association with alumni movements, the one I started, as well as the dozens of others that exist in this area. And fortunately, we are bound together by an umbrella organization, UJA, Union of Jamaica Alumni Associations, that fosters partnerships even between alumni associations, which helps to strengthen everyone. So it's basically a community effort, and it's based on the commitment to the school and the country, as I said. And once there's that communion around the missions that are established for the association, then the sky's the limit for what can be achieved for the school and for the country. So that's my initial perspective on this subject.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. The same question goes to Mr. McNamee. How can we build sustainable and equitable partnership to strengthen the school community?
Could you interpret?
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I am Ethan McNamee, and I am from Jamaica, as you hear my accent. I am not here this afternoon to let you know that I'm an expert in the field. What I'm here to let you know is that through experience, I've learned to build bridges, not walls, between myself, which is a school, and our stakeholders. And so, being I think what it takes, I love the question, the part that says equitable partnership. And when you think of partnership, persons are tuned into the radio, WITFM. What's in it for me? Nobody wants to be associated with a partnership that they will not benefit from. If you're not benefiting from your marriage, you don't want to stay in it. If you're not benefiting from any partnership at all, if you're not benefiting from JD Tan, you don't want to stay in it. And so we have to ensure that our partners benefit from what it is that we invite them to come into. Parents need to know that there's benefit. Our funders need to know that there is benefit. And all other stakeholders need to know that there is benefit. Another thing I'd like to say is that no one wants to associate themselves with a failing brand. So you have to have a good brand. Your brand is what will speak for you. How do you develop such? Your brand is what they see, it's what they hear, it's what they hear. Everything about you is your brand. And so there's a thought that says that and I'm not hitting the school principals, there's a thought that says that the environment that the school principal creates, the environment, reflects largely the attitude or the image of the school principal. So if you walk into a school and the school is mean, they say the principal is mean. If the principal is mean, the staff will be mean. The principal is not sociable, the staff will not be sociable. And so in order to build a partnership, one thing that you have to bank on is you have to be a sociable individual. You have to be able to communicate with persons from all strata. From experience, as I tell you, my knowledge is built on experience, not from what I've read in books, because I've read a lot and learned a lot about partnerships. But my knowledge is built on experience. And from experience, I know that when you speak the language of the people, the brutal, honest language, people want to know that you're honest. That's one of the main things. You have to be brutally honest with your stakeholders. And once you are honest, persons will buy into your vision, because you have to have a vision to sell. You cannot invite me into a partnership without a vision. And so if you want me to buy into that vision, you have to create your brand and sell me that vision. And you have to be deliberate in selling that vision and deliberate in creating that brand. Well, this is all I'll say for now. I have a mouthful, but I'll keep back up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. McNamee. Now we go to Ms. Myers. Your response?
So my response to that, and I echo what Mr. McNamee stated earlier, that we must create the vision and we must brand. One thing that we must keep in mind is that not all community engagement is equitable.
Right.
Puts the burden back on us to create that and make sure that whatever we're doing it with intentionality. So to achieve equity, those people that are in power, and I'll echo Mr. McNamee, they're going to look at the leaders of the campus also, but we must look at teachers, school administrators. We must share the power that we have to create equity with all the stakeholders that's associated with our school community. In order to engage that form of equity, we must look at providing information. So teachers and school administrators, we must provide basic and expected information to our students, families, and other community members at regular intervals. Again, creating that brand is going to require intentionality and it's going to require purpose for us to get to that vision. Another way we can also make sure that our engagement is equitable is encouraging involvement. In addition to providing information, teachers and school administrators actively seek out feedback and input from our students, families, and other community members. And last but not least, we must share the power. So I'll go back to, in addition to providing information, encouraging involvement, teachers and school administrators also use the resources that we have available to create the brand that Mr. McNamee spoke of earlier. So truly equitable community engagement isn't just providing information, encouraging involvement, or sharing power. It requires those in power, school leaders, to do all three. So in order for it to work and for it to be effective, all three must be present. What this looks like in practice will clearly depend on the school community, the topic that we're addressing, but the bottom line is that it must be a reflection of the school community, our stakeholders, and in general, we need to work towards that vision that we want to create for our school.
Thank you, and thank you for emphasizing that equity for a good, sustainable partnership. Now we move into question 2, which I think is connected strongly to question 1. What are the key elements of a successful partnership between the school and the community? We'll go back to Mr. Jones first. I think you're on mute, Mr. Jones. Thank you.
Good. Would you just restate the question for me, please? I was a little distracted.
What are the key elements of a successful partnership between the school and the community? I think you probably touched on some of those already.
Yes, what I didn't really touch on in my first statement, my opening statement, was the mission. The mission has to be clear on both sides. And that's where the communication element comes in to align all parties around what the defined mission is. And like in our example, we determined early on that our mission was about technology. Yes, we help with sports and equipment for schools and furniture, basic stuff like that. But we focused very, very early, and this is in the early 1990s, on technology. First on computers, on getting the school computerized. So we were able to source hundreds of computers for the school over the years. And that set a certain path for the school and certain support elements. And this was and has been the core of our thrust to help this particular school. So that was our area. So, but out of the communication element between the schools and the alumni group or groups, their mission has to emerge. And whatever is critical for the school, whatever they decide collectively would be the focus. Once everyone is on board and the mission is defined, then the pathway becomes more clear. And then success is an inevitable result once there's the commitment and the communication that I said before. So those are some of the, for me, for some of the elements that define a successful partnership between school and community. And in this case, the community that I'm speaking of is offshore, is in the United States. But similar elements would exist wherever the support community is. It's the same framework that guides success that the WISE group would follow. So that's how I see that element.
Thank you very much. Mr. McNamee? You're muted as well. Good.
Yes, thank you again. Two words come to my mind when I think of this question, the key elements. One is to be passionate. You have to be passionate about what it is that you do. You have to have a passion. And to sell that passion will allow you, though, to sell your vision. And when you sell your vision, you'll be able to gather people on board. As I say, it's experience. One of my experiences that when I went to Broadleaf Primary School in 2015, I found a library that was sponsored by Jamalco, but the library was not properly done. So there could not be an opening. What I did, I knew that and you have to do your research, yes. That's one of the things. You have to know your community strength, your partners, and what it is that they want from the relationship. And so I found out that what Jamaica wanted publicity, because it's a mining company and the persons there's always issues with the dust, the dust nuisance, this, that. And I have been brutally honest with Jamaica about these issues. And so when I'm in forum in the community, I will express myself like that. And they know that the truth will come from my lips. And so what I did is that I capitalized on that, and we had a Christmas fundraiser. I utilized that money, the PTA, we utilized that money to fix the library that should have been opened already. After it was fixed, I now contacted Jamaica. Communication is extremely important. I contacted Jamaica and I shared pictures and I let them know that we want to have an official opening. I want the world to know that Jamaica is doing this at this particular school. And within a few months, into July 2016, we had a grand opening. And of course, Jamaica was there as a speaker, one of their executives as the speaker at that function. Now, as I say, being deliberate, I wanted now a building to host my school. And so at that particular function, I made sure that I emphasized that my thesis, doing my thesis at UWI, I focused on a library. And now I've seen that library come to fruition. And now I want to see my students in separate classrooms doing their work, because my students were now partitioned by chalkboard. And I was very uncomfortable, as I expressed to the teachers. I didn't like that. And so I fed Jamaica right there and then with the idea that I wanted a building. And right there, by the time I was through talking, how passionate I was about my vision for the building, the representative from Jamaica made the mistake and said to me that she is going to ensure that that vision happened. And I will tell you a little more about that later.
Thank you for speaking to that passion. Ms. Myers, the same question. The key elements of a successful partnership.
Okay, so there are 9 elements that I kind of did some research on, and I'll keep it short for the sake of time. So strong school partnerships are essential for our students to be successful. School psychologists, they have outlined about 9 key elements that's necessary for creating and sustaining effective partnership in order to make sure that we're improving the mental health, physical health, and overall wellness of our school community. These elements that I kind of looked at was a leadership team within the school comprised of the school and community leaders. So that's the first one I looked at. Assets and needs assessment to access the student health and wellness, and a framework for the results. So we have to know what we're looking at in order to know how to approach fixing that. A designated person located at the school to lead the coordination of school community partnership. Currently on my campus, I am the liaison between the school and the community. So it is up to me to make sure that I find ways to bring the community into the school and make it meaningful in order for the students and the campus to benefit. The fourth one is clear expectations and shared accountability for the school and community partners. And if you're taking notes, I'll go slow and then you can do some more research later on. High quality health and wellness services that leverage school and community resources. Right now we have community liaison on our campus that what they do, they go out in the community, they find the resources that are available, bring it back to the school and share it with the students so they can in turn share that information with their parents. And we also send this home in the form of flyers. The sixth one is ongoing comprehensive professional development for all school leaders, staff, and community partners. We all need to be informed. There's no sense in the school leaders receiving this professional development surrounding a particular topic of interest to move the campus forward, and the community have no idea what we're doing or why we're doing it. The seventh one is a detailed plan for long-term sustainability. I don't agree with the quick fix because they don't last. So we need to have a plan in place that's going to carry this for years to come and become a legacy on our campus when it comes to community partnership. Regular evaluation of the effectiveness. Again, there's no sense in doing the same thing over and over again if it's not beneficial, or if we find out it does not apply or is not applicable to our students or to our community at the time. And the last one is communication. And I know one of the gentlemen earlier spoke about communication is key. There's no sense in having a vision and a plan if we're not communicating that to all the stakeholders that's involved. So to answer that question, it's got to be across the board.
Thank you for speaking to that, the key elements of a successful partnership. In your case specifically as the assistant principal, how have you utilized your local community to support your specific school?
One of the things that I do as the bridge between the school and the community, and as a campus leader, I have regular meetings with the community. Right now, because of COVID, we're not able to bring the community into the building for fear of, exposure. But one of the things that I make sure, I sent out a survey, a needs assessment survey to the parents or to the community, not just the parents, the community leaders also, and kind of get a feel of what it is how they can support us on the campus. Once that needs assessment came back, from the students, the parents, and the community, then we went into a long-term plan on how to fix that. But right now, because of COVID, everything is online. It breaks my heart because it's good when the parents could come in and see what the school looks like. Get a different feel like, oh, we need painting over here, or we need this over here. We need new benches outside because they're worn out. But right now, COVID has created that challenge for us. But for me, as that bridge between the school and the community, it is all about communication, using the resources that we have, whether it's on the radio, whether it's on TV, whatever the case may be, flyers, in the case of being in Jamaica at the different stores and stuff like that, to get the word out and let the community know that we still need them. It just may look different because of COVID.
Thank you, thank you. And as an educator in the States, I do empathize with you on having this virtual collaboration with parents. And I understand in Jamaica, there are issues too that may create problems that are similar to what we're experiencing. As an assistant principal, back to you, Ms. Myers, and an author who conducted research around parental involvement and engagement, why is partnership with parents so important to the success of a school?
I'm a firm believer that schools and community are one unit, and partnership with all sectors of the community is essential to help children reach their maximum potential. If we're trying to create well-rounded, informed students, we have to bring parents in to help us. I go back to that African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. And so definitely we have to make sure that we're involved in them. Community collaboration with schools complements and reinforces values. It complements and reinforces culture and the learning opportunities that schools can provide for the students that we have in front of us. In other words, all of us, teachers, staff, parents, business, nonprofit services, clubs, everything you can think of, working together truly make a difference for the lives of our students. We have to keep in mind that our students, they are our future. And we have to find a way to make sure that our community members understand that and share the same passion that we share to make sure that they give to us what we need to give to the students.
Thank you for that great answer. Now, Mr. Jones, we come back to you. As a founder of an alumni organization and an investor in STEM education in Jamaica, Thank you for that. How can teachers and administrators access and utilize these organizations to bring resources in their schools? Mr. Jones.
Well, you know, all roads lead to communication. And when I say communication, I mean, as an alumni group, we want to hear the good news, and we also want to hear the bad news from the school. We don't really want to hear bad news from third parties when they're, you know, sticking it to us with some bad news about the school because their school feels empowered by that. We want to hear all facets of what's going on. And we don't only want to hear from the school when they need something. We want to hear from the school, period. So the communication aspect is critical to the relationship. And I can't overemphasize that factor, because where there is a lack of communication or poor communication, the relationship is really disturbed, and it's dispiriting. You don't really, the motivation to work is diminished by a lack of communication or poor communication between the elements in the school. And it goes on both sides. If we, as an alumni association, don't communicate well, and the school is going to perhaps be perhaps not that interested in working with us or even hearing from us. So, and that the communication also comes down to the respect and the mutual respect that parties must have in order to collaborate effectively. And once that is established, and once there's a mission that's clearly defined and that's helpful to the school, and there are resources that are able to be generated because the mission is compelling, that's when the relationship, in my experience, works very well. So those three elements, I think, are critical. Of course, there are many others, but those elements are what appeal to me, and which I've seen in many cases don't exist, and thereby the effectiveness of alumni groups in helping schools can be interrupted by the lack of communication and commitment and the sharing and the respect that are demanded by effective relationships.
Thank you for sharing, especially on communication, two-way communication, so that each party understands what the other is thinking. Now we come to Mr. McNamee and Ms. Myers, and the question is, as it relates to schools and community partnership, what is the biggest challenge that you face at the moment? Mr. McNamee, would you like to be first, and then followed by Ms. Myers? You're still muted, Mr. McNamee. We can probably, okay, go ahead.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, well, in Jamaica, as you know, one of the main issue that we have now is internet connectivity, because how you communicate with your parents now, there is the issue of internet connectivity, but there are opportunities in every challenge. And so you have to look for the opportunities that exist. And God would have it that we had created a Facebook page where we communicate. So I would feed every happenings in the school. If we have a dinner, we have a luncheon, everything that if we enter any competition and the students win, even if they don't win, I sell it in a way to say, oh, this is the first time Broadleaf Primary School is entering such and such a competition, and we have been mentioned, honor. You must find something positive to sell out of what it is that what happened, because you have to protect your brand. You cannot just say we enter the competition and the children lost. No. What did they gain from the competition? You have to find something to capitalize on, to sell to your stakeholders. And so right now in our virtual space, what I've done, what I'm continuing to do is to continue to have that partnership going, because we need digital thermometers. Right now we need tablets. There's poor internet connectivity in the community, yes, but we can find a workaround if we do get laptop and or tablet. And so we have, what I did to post to my Facebook persons that are all over the world. I let them know that we are going to be needing digital thermometers. And so last week, I got a call to tell me that I must pick up 2 digital thermometers somewhere in Jamaica. They have been shipped. Now, also, I got another interest to say that you're going to be needing tablets. Do you want them to be purchased locally or international? So I said to my partner, you know, presently locally there's a shortage, and so we wouldn't mind getting them from overseas, which might mean that I get more. I did not put a number, and that's what you have to be very deliberate about. And then we just telling it to them that you need tablets. You have to say what it is that you have done. We have sourced so and so many children have, but there is a deficit. So you have to be doing something for somebody to want to help you. You cannot drop arm and say, oh, the government didn't do this, the government is not doing that. That is not possible. The government cannot service all. And we know that no country can the government service all. So some will be left there. So God placed us strategically in these places so that we can look out for those less unfortunate, for those less fortunate ones. And so I feathering and lighting the fire, keeping the partnership going, even though it's virtual. I still drive through the community, though, you know, to keep the partnership. I drive through the community. I'm a part of an organization that gives out food packages, and so I will collect my food packages. And I know my community by now. I know the needs, and so I'll drive through the community from this house, and I'll toot my horn. I say, come and pick up this package. I go to the next house, I say, pick up this package. And so persons see you, even in the pandemic, they see that your level of interest is still high. And so, of course, you will get that level of support just the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Myers, the same question.
Yes, well, I think Mr. McNamee covered it all, but I will give it a shot. So one of the issues that we're facing right now, a couple of the issues that we're facing right now is lack of student engagement. So while we're online, and I'm sure you guys will start running into that in Jamaica here pretty soon now that the kids are back, is that we had a high failure rate when we ran our first progress report last week, because the parents are at work, so there's no supervision at home. And so we're thinking the students are doing the work, or they're thinking the students are doing the work because we see that they're not doing it. But then it spins off into connectivity issues where now we're trying to get a hold of the parents to let them know your child is not online, the phones are turned off. Going all the way back to, as a result of this pandemic, we have a lot of parents who are not working. And so we have children who are living with grandparents who don't understand the technological aspect of what's going on. So there's a lot of things right now that's causing issues for us, especially working on a Title I campus where more than 75% of the students on my campus are living in poverty. So lack of engagement, connectivity issues, because Mr. McNamee, we're actually having a shortage of computers and iPads up here too, because the whole country is looking for them. So we still have students who have not been issued an iPad. And if they have been issued an iPad, now we're waiting for hotspots to come in so they're able to get online. So this is huge. This whole pandemic has created all sorts of challenges for the students. Emotionally, we're using Facebook to reach the students. We're using flyers. We're using every way you could think of to let the parents know we need to hear from you guys. The kids are not online. You may think they are online, but the grades are showing otherwise. So technology right now is an issue for us. Lack of student engagement, lack of parent involvement for various reasons. Our homeless population has gone up because parents have lost their apartments or they've lost their houses because they can't afford to pay for it.
Thank you both. And I think you have highlighted challenges that may be universal. Engagement and connectivity. Now, to each member of the panel, we are currently living through a global pandemic, COVID-19. How can you use your community partnership to support the schools during these times? Would you like to go first, Mr. McNamee? Then we'll have Ms. Myers and then Mr. Jones next.
All right, thank you. I think I touched a little on it just now, that, you know, the partnership that you build, even though it's a virtual world, you have to ensure that you still get the benefits of those partnerships just the same. And so I mentioned what we did, uh, what we're getting international, you know, locally. As I say, I go through my community and I deliver food packages and whatever and whatever. So I still am in touch with the locals. What, luckily for Broadleaf, what for us is we have a community, and you must be as a leader. And it's good that it's a small community, but whether the community is bigger or not, as a leader, you must learn of what skills your parents have. You must make yourself aware of the skill sets that are around you. And so, having made myself aware of the skill sets, I now know that I need to put up pipes. I now need to put up different wash stations around the institution. And so I know whose house I drive to, and I knock on whose door to say, I need to put up 5 wash stations. When I didn't, I said, when can you come and assist me? I know that even though it's for, I've been given some money to spend, the money will not be enough to do the job. And so therefore, I know that I have to depend heavily on the skill sets that are in the community in order to help me to make my school look good. Because nobody wants to, somebody had said that they could use some buckets and stuff and put pipe, and I say, no way, I want no bucket on my brand, because the bucket is not going to look good when people are passing my school. It's not in the open area, in the busy area, busy town, but it is a brand. And when you pass there, the same faucets and sink that you see in Mandeville is the same faucets and sink that you should see at Broadleaf, because the students are no different. And so I know Mandeville, the school in Mandeville might have more money, more resources, but I have the physical resource. And so I call my parents and I say, come. And we buy, tell me what to buy. We buy whatever. And the pipes and stuff, they are set up. And so it is very easy for me to get those things done, because I think and it's good too that most of the persons who do these things, they are parents. And so I will appeal to them. Would you want to see your child using this? And so I know how it is that I get to my parents. My situation is unique, just like any other situation. What works for me might not necessarily work for you, but it is worth a try. You cannot just drop arm and say, it is a pandemic, government should do this, government should do that. No, government will not do everything. So we have to help ourselves to get through this, because we are in this thing together. And the sooner we realize that it's a partnership, the better and easier our lives will be, and our blood pressure will not be raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNamee. Ms. Myers?
Okay, so I'm gonna just go back and echo what Mr. McNamee says, talking about using skill sets. I did a book study last school year with my teachers. It's called The Multiplier Effect. And that book was written by Liz Wiseman, Lewis Allen, and Elise Foster, if you guys are looking for those. The Multiplier Effect. And what that book really highlights is tapping into the genius within your school. And in this case, I apply it to tapping into the genius within your school family, meaning our parents. Right now, we have a lot of families who are dealing with mental issues, emotional trauma from this pandemic because of the situations that have been created. So how can I bring the community into my school to support the campus? So I have a parent who's a school psychologist. So one of the things that I did was set up a Zoom conference so she could go over mindfulness and just different techniques that she opened up to the school and the community on a Zoom platform. She took them through different breathing exercises after she highlighted some of the issues that they may be facing. So we tapped into the genius within our own school family, meaning the parents, to come back in and support the school and also other families. Another thing that we did was send out letters to our community partners because our teachers are stressed out. We're dealing with students receiving face-to-face instructions. When I go into a classroom to do a walkthrough, I'm observing my teacher doing a face-to-face, but she's also doing synchronous teaching where the kids are online, but she also had a record for the asynchronous learners after school who can actually access the learning up until midnight. So we're talking 3 platforms running simultaneously. So our teachers are stressed out. It's only the first 9 weeks, but we can see it. So I reached out to the community partners who own the Red Lobsters and this can happen in Jamaica too. Reach out to some of your bigger restaurants and have them provide a gift card to your teachers. Because we can't bring in, the community to do massages and stuff we usually do at the end of the grading period. So now we reached out to them and we have received so many gift cards. So at the end of the 9 weeks, we may do, we may pull a name from a bag or we just do a random number. And that teacher will receive a gift card for the whole family. Even though they may not go in to dine, they could have takeout. So those are some of the creative ways that we pull the community into the school to support us during this pandemic. And they have stepped up to the challenge because this is a job. As an administrator, I cannot honestly, and I'm sure the same goes for you, I cannot say that I've ever taught in a pandemic, so I don't know what it feels like. So these teachers are facing things that we have no idea. I've never taught on 3 platforms in one day. I've done face-to-face and that's it. They go home and they do homework. But reaching out to the community and tapping into what they can provide us is working for us.
Thank you both for sharing novel ideas for different times. Now, Mr. Jones, your turn.
Thank you. Well, the pandemic obviously complicates education as well as every other area of life that we experience, just makes it harder to move forward. However, what we are experiencing now with JD10 is an example of what the community can do to assist education, even and especially in this pandemic environment, because we're all graduates, or most of us are graduates of schools in Jamaica. And wherever we end up, that will always be the case. So this is a fine example of that. And what we're generating here is human resources and human potential to help Jamaica manage this crisis and emerge stronger at the end of it. So in managing the pandemic, it's a matter of resources. How can we accumulate resources, human, intellectual, and otherwise, and material resources, in order to effect a positive change in the pandemic environment with education? And with alumni groups, it's particularly difficult now because we also are going through, wherever we are, going through the effects of the pandemic. We can't meet physically. Many alumni organizations depend on events, functions, dinner dances, and whatever to raise funds. And this is a traditional model that I observed when this our particular organization was founded. But we realized pretty early on that it's not the best way, the best path forward to generate resources. The best path is to do what the bigger organizations do, which is they become tax exempt. They file for that status, and they position themselves in their operations and in their mission to generate corporate funds, to generate funds from donors, substantial donors. And this is what I would suggest that alumni associations shift more of an emphasis to, away from the activities like dinner dances and raffles and things like that, which do require physical presence. You can't have a socially distant banquet or dinner dance and have it be successful. So our funding model and our thinking needs to change in order to match or try to match the challenges posed by the pandemic. So we realized that pretty early, and we in our group, and we were able to gain that tax exempt status within months of being formed. And we are still learning how to try to leverage that effectively, but it's been effective in generating resources. And that's what I would recommend for alumni groups, to shift to that model and to be able to have more sustainable operations that don't require people to gather.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And I do understand your explanation of using your tax exemption status to raise funds and support in your community. I can relate to that. Our last group question is, what is the best resource for teachers and administrators who want to learn about building, and not just building, but sustaining partnership? And we'll go in the same order we did for the previous question. Mr. McNamee first, then Ms. Myers, and then Mr. Jones. The best resource for teachers and administrators who want to learn about building and sustaining partnerships.
Thank you. I'm now on mute. Yes. I know there is a wide range of information on the web to speak of community partnership and sustaining partnership and whatever. But I believe that one of the greatest teachers is experience. I have read, as I said, I have researched, and I do not discredit those who have researched before me and have put forth that knowledge base, but some of them are already dead. And I think it's time, as I hear Dr. Ingleton, principal of NCL, says, I think it's time that we, as a new generation, start creating our own knowledge. And so experience is one. I'd advise persons to link up, know who your partners are, even in your circle. Because we have, as a principal, as a teacher, know who your partners are. It makes no sense you team up with persons who will be on the pessimistic side to find everything, to find a problem for every solution. You need to find a solution for every problem. So if you are around persons that are finding problems and cannot identify solutions, you need to probably shift your focus, change your angle from which you look at things, change your surrounding, your environment. Be around people who are positive, be around people who knows, who have probably tried and worked things. Like an example I'll share with you is that when I went to Broadleaf in 2015 again, our first parent consultation day, I said to my teachers, you know, when I look at on the calendar, it's parent consultation day, and I was told, sir, you know, none of them now come out, you know, then just said this. I started thinking within myself, what is it that these people want to make them come out? I inquired, what have you done to get them to come out? Well, you send those messages. No, I went into my thinking box, and as I say, it's my own personal experience. and I sat around my desk and I took my computer and I created individual appointment cards. I created 100 and odd individual appointment cards. Now, these appointment cards, they had the parent name, they had the time the parent should come in, and I gave them to the teachers. I said, you put the time in. Set your time when you want to see a particular parent. Because sending home to parents that today is parent consultation day means that I can come 5 o'clock, I can come 10 o'clock, I can come 1 o'clock, I can decide that I don't want to come. But I created those and I gave it, and I was told when I started issuing them out, sir, you waste paper. They may plain Jamaican language, you waste paper and ink. They may parents and now come, you know, get them. And I said, okay, what I'm going to do with your teachers, I'm empowering my teachers too, because what I did, I gave each of them a big book. And I say, write the child's name. When the parent comes, you write the issues that you want to discuss with the parent, and then you put the solutions that you and the parent arrive at, and then you get the parent at the end to sign to these solutions. That they cannot say they are not aware. We have to do our part. We know better, so we do better. And we issue those appointment cards. And when we issue those appointment cards, on the day in question, parent consultation day, we had 100% of our parents turning up and filling in the slots, the time slots that they were to come, because it's the first in their lives they have got an appointment card from a school. They felt important. You have to know how to make your parents feel important. And so the teachers felt important too, because they had booklets now to make sure that they had backup to say, yes, this is what I did. So I empowered my teachers. They went through the process, everybody write down whatever, and when they were through, I, as the administrator, took those books and I took them and I went through and I signed them to ensure that it meant something to me too. And so that is one of the main issue, one of the main thing when you're building your partnership with your community, with your parents, specifically your parents. You have to let them feel important, and I implore to others out there, teachers out there, principals out there who are forging partnerships. I say again, be careful. I wouldn't use the word be careful. I would say choose your friends wisely. You must choose people that you can look up to, somebody who can add value to your relationship. If value is not being added, if every time you and this principal meet, all you talk about are problems within the school, there's an issue. You must be able to now start sharing solutions.
Thank you, Mr. Manami. And I realize that our time is almost expiring, so I'd like to roll the last activity into this question. In answering question that was just posed, I'd like to share your final words that you'd like to leave with the attendees, because we should save some time for question and answering. So the question, the best resource for teachers and administrators, and then you can share your final thought as you answer that, please. We'll go to Ms. Myers and then Mr. Jones.
I'll sum up in a quick sentence, to be honest. Just to echo everything Mr. McNamee said, is about building capacity on your campus with your teachers and your administrators. One of the things that I've done is that I've created a committee, and I've called it the Parent Action Networking Community. And I let the word speak for itself. But building capacity, it actually empowers your teachers, it empowers your administrators to go out there and do the work of bringing the community into the school. Because at the end of the day, the school belongs to the community, all the stakeholders involved.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Okay, the best resources that teachers and admin have in effecting change, that's how I interpret the question. Well, they'd find that answer by looking in the mirror. They are the best resources. Add the students and their parents to it. And that's the holy grail of the solution as far as I'm concerned. So it starts with a power example. When others see what you're able to do to help yourself, you may not reach your total goal or your goal in total, but if you put the effort out and it's obvious, and if you document it and you highlighted it and you share it effectively, other people will be inspired to help. And in this particular environment of COVID, yes, helping others may be more of a strain now, but it's also will generate help from unexpected sources once you put the word out, because there are people and organizations out there that are willing and able and looking for opportunities to help people. And you just have to find them and put the message out. And once the message is attractive enough, it's compelling enough in terms of whatever the vision is and whatever the brilliant outcomes would be, if you can sell that effectively, then you're more than halfway there to being successful.
Thank you so much to each of you. I think there is at least one question. So I'd like to turn over to Ms. Winter at this time to let us know what the question is, and we'll see which member of the panel would like to answer that. Ms. Winter.
Okay, so the question states, forming of partnership is done mostly from an administrative level. How can teachers help in that regard?
Can I answer, Alice, can I start out with that one?
Yes.
Okay, and the reason I wanted to start out with that one is because as an administrator, one of the things I did, I sent out an email to the entire school and invited them to be on the committee as far as, as far as it relates to being involved with the parent outreach part of it. So that's one of the things I did as far as for teachers to be involved as an admin. I invited the entire school to the meetings. And so they're able to come with their input, their ideas, whatever the situation may be. When we have our agenda items, whatever they need to go on the agenda, it goes on the agenda. But I did open it to the entire campus. I mean, that's how we got the teachers on board.
Thank you for that. Mr. McNamee, would you like to add to that?
Yes, yes. One of the things that I do is every year I award my teachers for different reasons. I find things, and almost everybody gets an award. So I find things to award them for. And what I do I have basically an open door policy where we discuss almost every and anything that happens within the school. So my teachers know that if somebody or they have a link, what we call it in Jamaica, or somebody approaches them about something, they can come and just feed me in on the information, and we meet the person, and boom, we are on to a good thing. So at the end of the year though, that particular teacher would have gotten an award. I would coin it somewhere. I'd find someone, maybe most resourceful teacher of partnership, or something of the sort, to at the graduation, and I give it at the graduation where the entire community is, to let them know that that teacher has done X, Y, or Z. So it sort of boosts that sort of thing that I get and encourage them to continue to do.
Thank you so much for that response. Mr. Jones, I am not pressuring you, but if you'd like to say anything, you have the time to do so now.
Well, it's not my area of competence because I'm on the other side of the equation, but I do know that teachers and admin are obviously critical to the success of schools. So once they understand that themselves and they have the commitment and the passion, which is an interesting word that was introduced into the conversation, the passion to help, the method of helping will become apparent to them, and it's just a matter of execution. And once you do have the enthusiasm and it's palpable that people can feel it, you're going to attract support. So it's not even, I think it's just human nature that people are attracted to things that are attractive. And what's attractive is passion and commitment and drive. And once you can demonstrate the results and sell them, then the sky's the limit.
I think that was the last question, and I want to thank each of you for sharing your experience, and I also believe your expertise. Mr. Jones with STEM and your workforce development strategies. Miss Myers, I'll say that because I'm not sure if I can say your other name that very well. Thank you so much as an assistant principal. Many things you said I can relate to. Ms. McNamee, I got your enthusiasm as a principal. And at the outset, I was asked to introduce myself a little bit more. I didn't want to use any of your time, but I started working in Jamaica as an educator in the prep school run by St. Franciscan Sisters, Immaculate, etc. And then I went to work in one of the government secondary schools. And partnership is important. Here in the United States, we have partners in education, but back in Jamaica, our parents were our first partners. They had access to us sometimes before they had access to administrators. And knowing about our students, building that partnership, knowing our parents, knowing the various resources that they bring to the classroom or to the students, or even informing us of the students' background, that was building strong relationships, strong partnership. And now I see you gentlemen expanding that to the wider community. I want to thank you so much for your time with this. I want to thank the Education Task Force, Dr. Dice, Miss Winter, and everyone. As a Jamaican educator, I am so proud of this. I'm proud of my Jamaican education, and I'm thankful that we get the chance to reach back. And following one of Mr. Dervin's little phrase, he said, Jamaicans abroad, helping Jamaicans a yard. I want to thank you, and I'll turn everything over now to Dr. Dice and Miss Winter for the transition. May God bless each of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dawkins. Excellent presentation. Miss Nicola and Mr. Jones and Mr. McNamee, thank you so much for being here for all of our people. Miss Winter.
Thank you guys so much for this. This was an amazing presentation. And for the panelists, if you could head over to jaminars.org, there are some other questions coming in where I think your feedback would definitely be valued by those teachers and parents that are on the chat while the other presentation is happening. So thank you guys so much, and we'll move into the next presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you, guys.
yeah, I want to say that you guys touch on some really good points, which is very practical. It's very, very practical with the way, and I love the fact that Mr. McNamee brought in is very practical approach that he has done. And Miss Nicola, I won't even pronounce your last name. Miss Nicola, I appreciate you bringing in the research. It's very good. And Jamaica really need, educators in Jamaica need that background to research, to dig deep into research. So that's very good, very, very good. Don Jones, you know, you're right there with me as usual, and you represent alumni associations today, and you're not even alumni associations alone. You're Agile Jamaica. So very good approach, everybody. And Dr. Dawkins, you did very well. Good questions, very good questions that you put forward there. Okay. All right, so we're gonna talk again soon with our people everywhere. We're gonna go straight into the next presentation. So, yes, thank you so much. Our next presenter is, many people know him as Dr. Miguel Barker. He is He's going to present on assessing students in distance learning platforms, and he's going to talk about best practices. Now, Dr. Miguel Barker resides in Oman in the Middle East, and he's also a assistant principal in an international school there. He can share a little bit more about himself with this as it relates to his school in a little while, but I want to give a short overview of Dr. Miguel Barker. He is going into his 27th year or so of educational experience with an enviable track record in numerous leadership roles encompassing all aspects of secondary education, both in the UK setting, United Kingdom, as well as the International Baccalaureate Program, which is the IB program, very prestigious program. His presentation style confronts participants' current thinking and ultimately transforms their conceptual understanding. He firmly believes that learning happens in a thinking culture. So he promotes thinking a whole lot, every aspect of his training and development. He's a proud graduate of the Case College, Agricultural College in Portland, and also the UWI, University of the West Indies, and he holds a doctorate in international instructional leadership. So he actually knows what he's talking about. Dr. Barker is known for asking the follow-up question always, why do you think that? Even in a polite conversation, he will have that question for us. I want us to put our virtual hands together and welcome our presenter on assessment in the virtual platform, nicknamed by me, Dr. Barker.
Hi, good morning. I just want to make sure that I'm coming in quite loud and clear, good volume, good clarity. Thank you, Dr. Dice, for a very head-swelling introduction. I was looking behind me to see who you were talking about, so thank you very much. As usual, it is indeed my pleasure to participate in your seminars and be part of JD Tan's really active action network. You know, as we, as Jamaicans, as Ms. Dawkins said, who is abroad, try to contribute to things that are happening abroad. So, so thank you. Really, really appreciate that. And
yes, anytime.
To all the participants who are outside, you maybe need to bear with me a little because I tend to try to provide a kind of background to what I'm doing, but I'll take you somewhere nice in the end. So looking forward to a really productive session. So can I just bring my presentation to the front? Yeah.
Totally. And I'm gonna be sitting in the back here.
Okay, so I need to get the sharing happening.
Is it happening?
No, it isn't. So if you can.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So let me find my presentation and then I hope everything is nice and clear.
Very much.
So as you mentioned, it is 1 a.m. in